I've had the privilege of riding in some of the coolest places Mother Nature has to offer, and that's all thanks to you guys. I want to be able to ski at places like Schilthorn if you didn't watch the videos on this channel. At the same time, these videos would not exist without the footage, and the footage would not exist without the cameras to capture them. Action cameras, they're essential to this channel's survival. And I've used a lot of them over the last few years to make my YouTube videos. Some of them I've liked, some of them not so much. But I want to dial in on two of my favorite action cameras right now, the ones I use the most often, to help any of you guys that are currently looking to start filming or creating action sports content. Hopefully this can kind of give you a head start in the right direction. Because there's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of tricky terminology. 10-bit ISO 5.3K 120, like, it's tricky. Today we're gonna look at DJI's flagship action camera, the Osmo Action 3, and how it stacks up to one of the market leaders, the GoPro Hero 11. Now, I do want to say DJI did send me their Osmo Action 3 camera earlier this ski season to test it out and have a good time with it. And for the GoPro 11, I picked up this camera at the start of the ski season, but neither company are paying for me to say anything in this video about their camera. More importantly, the point of this video is to show you the results of both cameras, what they're capable of, and then have you guys make your own opinion about it. I'm just gonna show you what they can do. First up, let's talk price. Both cameras released back in September 2022. The GoPro ran you $499 United States dollars, while the Osmo Action 3 only set you back $349 US. Since launching, the GoPro 11 has come down in price. The camera currently sells for around $399, but the Osmo Action 3 has still maintained its $349 price tag. The OA3 is still the less expensive option, regardless of GoPro's recent price cuts, but it's important to remember that price doesn't define value. Let's see what both of these cameras offer for your hard-earned dollars. I took both cameras to some of my favorite places on the planet. They came with me to the dirt mountains with my bike and on the snowy mountains with my skis. It was a darker day when I went biking, so this was kind of a proper place to test some lower light footage, the lower light capabilities of both cameras. All my time on the ski hill was, dude, it was so nice. It was extremely sunny out in Mammoth, showcasing how these cameras perform in more optimal lighting conditions. We're gonna start off with the sunny ski footage. I'm gonna title each shot to show you which shot is from which camera. I'm also gonna put this audio icon next to whatever camera's audio is being played, so you guys can decide for yourself what looks the best and what sounds the best. Oh. Okay, well, after a 18 hour drive all the way from Canada, we made it to beautiful Mammoth Mountain. So both on the GoPro and the DJI, we're shooting at 4K 60, ultra wide on the Osmo Action 3, and then hyper view on the GoPro. That's the widest FOV on both of those. This is just gonna be a gauge to test how the camera does on the widest FOV, shooting at 4K 60. You guys be the judge of what you like better. We're gonna go for a quick lap. So like I said, both cameras are shooting at 4K 60 frames per second and at the widest field of view each camera offers. Again, that's hyperview on the GoPro, which shoots at a 12mm focal length, and ultra wide on the OA3, which shoots at a 10mm focal length. I did not play around with any other settings for these clips. The exposure, white balance, and ISO is all set to auto on both cameras, so try not to pay too much attention to the brightness and color of the clips, because all that can be adjusted with color grading as shown right here. All I did to the footage right here is play around with the contrast, saturation, and brightness levels to make the footage look a little bit more appealing in my eye. So instead of the things that can be adjusted, try and focus on the quality of each clip to make your decision on the camera. And if you're finding a hard time seeing the difference, I'm in the same boat. Both the GoPro and the DJI are exceptional. But keep in mind, you can achieve a wider shot with the OA3. It shoots in a little bit of a wider FOV, which comes in handy, especially for some biking clips we'll see you later on. Next up, a good action camera needs good stabilization. You're gonna be bumping around on the bike and on the skis, so you wanna make sure that image is steady. So me and my buddy Zach went to a run with a few more bumps, a couple of ruts, some nice rollers to test out the max stabilization setting on each of the cameras. DJI calls this mode Rocksteady Plus and GoPro calls it Hyper Smooth Boost. You guys tell me what you think is smoother. Definitely not the bumpiest run on the planet, but at that speed cruising around, you're swaying the camera back and forth, and each of them did an incredible job stabilizing that image. Let me know which image you think is smoother. To my prepubescent eye, it looks the same. If not, they're extremely close, but keep in mind the Osmo Action 3 does offer a slightly wider field of view when you are shooting with max stabilization enabled. Next up, HDR. On the left, you'll see the Osmo Action 3 is shooting at 4K 30 frames per second, the highest frame rate you can shoot with HDR enabled on that camera. GoPro doesn't actually have a designated HDR mode, so I'm just shooting at 4K 30 on that camera over on the right side as well. Obviously, this isn't going to be an apples to apples comparison. This is more so just for you to see whether or not you would value having an HDR mode on your action camera. Looking at the footage, I think the colors do look a little bit better on the Osmo Action 3, but again, color grading comes into effect. You can honestly edit your footage to look almost any specific way you wanted to, obviously with varying degrees of degrading the footage quality. But overall, I do think the HDR over the, regular 4K 30 shot on the GoPro does look better, and that makes sense, man. HDR versus SDR, it's gonna be better. But that doesn't mean DJI makes the better camera. GoPro does offer features that the Osmo Action 3 doesn't have. One of the big ones being 5K footage. The GoPro 11 can shoot 5.3K at 60 frames per second versus the Osmo Action 3, which caps out at 4K footage. So it's up to you to place them in your palms and think about what's most important to you. You gotta make the choice. Next up, let's see some slow-mo. For your 1080p slow-mo options, both cameras can shoot at 240 frames per second. At 4K, both cameras can shoot at 120 frames per second. But the GoPro does have a little bit of an edge when it comes to 1440p footage. The Hero 11 can do 1440p at 240 frames per second, while the Osmo Action 3 can only shoot 120 frames per second at 1440p. It's not a major difference, but if you're looking for the absolute slowest footage you can produce at the highest resolution, the GoPro does take the cake in this one. But at least for my needs, 4K at 120 is more than sufficient. That's the sunny ski footage. Let's take a look at some lower light MTB action. Right here, I'm shooting at 4K 60 frames per second with both of the cameras widest FOV enabled. So again, that's hyper view on the GoPro and ultra wide on the DJI. These are gonna be the settings I'll be using most often while riding my bike. And just like the skiing footage, the colors here can all be adjusted with some simple color grading. So instead of focusing on the coloring, try and focus a little bit more on the quality of both images, which in this case, I think is a little bit easier to differentiate in this low light environment. To my eye, at least, the Hero 11 does look sharper, but the OA3 does give you that slightly wider field of view.
Wow. Wow. Oh, scram diddly yumptious. Oh, that was such a good lap. Almost down here.
Now, before comparing the convenience, the features, and the durability of both cameras, here's my thoughts on their image quality. In my opinion, I really don't think you can go wrong with either option. Both are top dogs in the action camera market and produce incredible high resolution and stable images. If somebody put a baton to my jugular and forced me to pick one strictly based on image quality, I would lean more towards the Osmo Action 3 for well-lit environments and the GoPro 11 for lower light environments. But keep in mind, the GoPro is still $50 more. Again, it's something to consider. Image quality alone doesn't make or break an action camera. Features, durability, and convenience are almost as important, so let's talk durability. In my experience, the durability of both cameras has not been an issue at all. When I take them out for playtime in the woods, I don't even think twice about it because they're built so well. They've taken proper slams in the dirt and snow this year, and each still work as good as new. When it came to cold weather performance, both cameras were exceptional. I live in the Great White North. It's cold here. But during this last ski season, I did get to use the OA3 and Hero 11 during days where it was approaching negative 30 degrees Celsius with the wind chill. It gets really cold up here. And both of the cameras were completely fine. None of them shut down due to cold weather, which is fantastic to see, especially on the GoPro side. Their old batteries were notorious for shutting down in cold temperatures, but their new Enduro batteries seem to have fixed this issue. Both offer ample waterproofing. The DJI is good up to 16 meters or 52 feet, while the GoPro 11 is good for 10 meters or 33 feet. Yes, you can take the Osmo deeper than the GoPro, but at the end of the day, unless you're taking these cameras to the city of Atlantis, the waterproofing is going to be sufficient for your needs. Next up, features. Both cameras have their selling points. They have their own unique set of features, and it's going to be up to you to decide which is more important to you and your needs. For example, the Hero 11 has a taller sensor than the Osmo, which allows it to shoot in an 8:7 aspect ratio. In English, this means you can shoot both portrait and landscape simultaneously. In other words, I can use the exact same shot for a YouTube video and a TikTok post without cropping in substantially, and that's awesome. While the DJI currently isn't able to shoot in an 8:7 aspect ratio, they have fought back by creating a case that enables the user to film vertically and horizontally, but you're still not able to get those shots simultaneously as you would be able to with an 8:7 aspect ratio. DJI isn't at a full feature loss. Again, they do have the widest FOV out of any action camera on the market right now at 10 millimeters, which is a big selling point for me. Plus, they do have that designated HDR mode if coloring and all that sort of stuff is really important to you. Lastly, let's talk about convenience. DJI hit it out of the park with this one. The OA3 has this magnetic attachment mechanism as opposed to GoPro's screw system, and dude, my goodness gracious, this is so nice to have. Instead of taking my mitts off in the blistering cold to undo a GoPro screw or slide it out of its mount, with the OA3 I can keep my gloves on and undo the latch at any time. It's a really minor thing that makes a big difference in the moment. It's like tossing brown sugar in your cappuccino. It's nice to have. And the magnets have held up fine. I've blasted over 80 kilometers an hour down the mountain and the camera has stayed on. Taken slams with it and the camera still hasn't fallen off. All around it just works. Now when it comes to actually using the cameras and navigating through the menus, at the start I did find the Hero 11 to be much more intuitive and easier to use, but that's mainly because I've been using GoPros for a long time now. The DJI was something new, but once I got my head around the OS, it was just as easy to navigate through their menus. In conclusion, both cameras, they both pack a punch. You really can't go wrong with either option. But which one is the best bang for your buck? I would say if shooting in 8:7 and good low light performance is very important to you, then go for the GoPro. But if low light performance isn't that big of a deal for you and you prefer convenience and a wider FOV, save the $50 and get the DJI Osmo Action 3. I hope this video was super helpful for you guys. I'll try to answer any questions you have about the cameras in the comment section below. Again, I'm not Marcus Brownlee. I don't have extensive technological knowledge, but I have been using action cameras for a long time now, and I know what I like and I know what I don't like. So, yeah.